Hello everybody, this is Stephen Howson and this is my post-match England 1, Iceland 2 review. Now, who is to blame? Because I think the blame game generally usually starts straight away. I find it very interesting that Roy Hodgson had a resignation letter ready to go. Maybe he had one in the left-hand pocket of his jacket, one in the right-hand pocket of his jacket. There's a couple of things I want to do. Obviously, I don't want to just start throwing shit around at everybody because that's easy to do and that doesn't benefit anybody. I'd like to explore a couple of the reasons, potential reasons, obviously, because we can't replay all the different scenarios again and hope for a better result. But I think the warning signs was there against Russia, to be honest. Maybe even before that in some of the friendlies as well. But for me, against Russia, we take the lead, we can't close the lead out, we concede a last-minute goal. And that was for me where I was like, that's where Michael Carrick would have come in. I've said it a few times that I didn't think the squad selection was great. And I stand by that. I do not think the squad selection was great. I thought there was too many players that was a little bit too similar. Not enough variation. Even taking Rashford, in all honesty, Rashford and Vardy are extremely similar. Extremely similar in the qualities that they have and the way they play the game. The determination from them both is fantastic. They are game changers off the bench. I can see why you wanted to take one or both of those. I would have took the risk on Daniel Sturridge because I think Daniel Sturridge is a quality footballer, and you only take the risk on one player in a national team because you don't have enough players to be doing mad things like, you know, gamble on 4 players and just hope, because there's not enough room for that. You need plan A, and it's got to be a very well executed plan. You need a plan B. And I think you saw elements in the England setup that we've seen, if you're a United fan and you've followed me and United this season, that you would recognise. You would see massive amount of possession. You would see generally quite an assured defence. You will see a lack of movement and penetration in the final third. And a boring-ish style of football. A lack of people willing to take people on, and lack of a plan B or a plan C when a team just shuts up shop against you, when they go 2 banks of 4 or even 2 banks of 5. They block off the supply to that single striker, and I know we had more than one striker on the pitch, but we played 4-3-3, so you sort of have wide men and a striker. If not the natural position of some of those players, that's what you're doing. So it's easy to isolate that front man, and I think the way you get around sides that are doing that. I mean, do you know what? If we'd come up against France, if we come up against Italy, I actually think we could have shocked people like Manchester United this season. When you play the bigger teams, when you play the teams that do have more space, that do play more expansive football, I think you look like a better side yourselves for that. And I think that's what would have happened with England as we got to the latter stages. I think you would have seen a better side playing against better sides. It's one of those weird conundrums that you get sometimes in football. But with the smaller teams, we didn't have that plan B. And that plan B should have been, again, it goes back to the squad selection. There isn't enough wingers in English game. That's a problem, yeah? But maybe that's where you take someone like a Wilfried Zaha, yeah? And I'm not saying Wilfried Zaha is not a better footballer than perhaps Jack Wilshere is on his day. Wilfried Zaha is not a better footballer than maybe even Raheem Sterling. But he's something different. He plays the game in an entirely different way. I think Danny Drinkwater should have gone for the fact that him and Vardy have had an excellent link-up this season. I think there's other players that should have gone for similar reasons. I think we should have took more than 3 centre-halves. I think we should have definitely took more wingers. And I think you should have took a different option up front. Okay, so up front, Rooney wasn't playing up front. He was in midfield. Okay, fine. Whatever you think about that, fine. Up front, you've got Harry Kane, who's banged him in the Premier League this season. No one had an issue with him going because he was bang at it in the Premier League. Still cutting his teeth at international football. You need a plan B when it's not working with him. Plan B, for me, and I was happy with it, is Vardy. You have 2 plan Bs when you've got Vardy and Rashford because they're an exactly similar sort of thing. Now, we saw when Rashford came on, he was doing that a little bit more. He played on the left, Vardy went over onto the right predominantly. And we saw what both of those players can do and what both of those players managed to bring. But there wasn't a plan C because that still didn't work. And perhaps he didn't play Rashford early enough. I think it was obvious to see that Sturridge was not at the races today. I would have hooked him on the 60-minute mark, but I could see arguments for delaying that, and I would definitely have hooked him before the 75th minute. 75th minute onwards, that would have given Rashford enough time to have had at least 2 or 3 chances where he could have made something happen. We saw with the 6 minutes he did get that he was starting to create stuff. He was playing with that fearless determination that we've seen at Manchester United, you knew what you was going to get. But if we'd have had an Andy Carroll in the side, and I'm not an advocate of lumping the ball up, but sometimes you have to lump the fucking ball up. It's as simple as that. When you're not seeing productivity, playing football the nice way, and that's always been the criticism of the likes of Barcelona and Spain. They can play excellent when it's going their way and they've got the run of the mill. But if they come up against a team that's just got that little bit of a fucking knack, they haven't got that plan B. That's why a squad structure needs to look like you've got two totally different starting 11s, and maybe even within the second starting 11, 2 or 3 variations on that. And that's where I think Andy Carroll would have come in. I wouldn't have took Rashford probably. I would have probably gone with the strikers that we went with, plus Andy Carroll. Just for the difference that he offers us. The aerial threat of set piece. I mean, how poor would a set piece is? For starters, Harry Kane will not be taking corners ever again in his life. That should be anyone who's watched him play this season. Any manager that he ends up playing for the rest of his career needs to be like, I like to get in the box and get on the end of it rather than fucking about out here. Even Rashford took one at one point. Like, how well thought out is that? Now, I know he's under time constraints and this, that, and the other, but Rashford needs to be in the box getting on the end of that shit, not the one taking him. He's never been known for his delivery like that. Why fucking waste it? Especially with the time ticking down. Wayne Rooney, he's got a great delivery. Put him on a fucking corners for Christ's sake. As I said, midfielder would have had different ones. Carrick closed the game out, settle it off. Mark Noble, I think, is a bit more of an action midfielder. You take a player with Wilshere who's got 1 game under his belt this season. You're asking him to do 6-7 times what he's done in the Premier League season in the space of 5 or 6 weeks. Ridiculous decision. I thought the fullbacks, by and large, was okay. Nothing spectacular. Obviously, Luke Shaw's going to come in and challenge, if not just straight take it off Danny Rose. Joe Hart was shite today, and he's prone to the clanger anyway. But do you really have gone with Forster over him? Probably not really. Even with hindsight, you probably wouldn't have. But he was shite today. And we can say he was shite today without having any sort of agenda. Speaking of the agenda, if you search the hashtag blame Raheem, all you will see is City fans. And it's this little circle jerk of City fans that think there's an agenda. Listen, you silly cunts. Do you not remember 1998, yeah? When there was people hanging effigies of David Beckham? That's when there's a fucking national agenda against someone. Are we going to be seeing all the Cockneys doing that about Joe Hart? No, we are not. So how about settle the fuck down? You have no idea what it is when there's a national agenda against your club. Joe, no one gives a fuck about your club. That's the thing. If it was a Manchester United player that had caused all these fuck-ups, then we would be seeing a national outrage. But because it's City, honestly, you're not that fucking big. No one cares about you. Simple as that. So, England are out. Raheem Sterling was shit, though, I'll give him that. He was shit tonight. But there's no agenda against him. You just have to say, he was shit. Sturridge was shit. Rooney was shit. I'm not defending anybody. Don't think Smalling covered it himself in glory tonight. Don't think Walker covered it himself in glory tonight. In fact, I don't think there was a single player, apart from Marcus Rashford, who can come off that pitch with his head held high. Dele Alli was shit. He offered nothing. He's had a very nervous tournament, if I could say that, for Dele Alli this Euros tournament. There's a lot of players who are going to do a lot of growing, and there's some fantastic footballers in this. In fact, you know what? I'll take that back. I know you can probably put some proportion of blame on Dyer for the first goal, but for me, Dyer was probably England's most consistent player over the tournament. I like the way he plays his football. I like him as that holding midfielder. I like him as that link between defence and midfield. And inexplicably taking him off for Jack Wilshere, who come on and just fulfilled the same role that Rooney was doing. The nonsense balls out to the side, just, the 6 taking it to the 8, putting it out to the wingman, getting it back, pendulum it to the other side. There was nothing at a time when we was losing a game, and you need to start taking some risks. The only player that came on and was fucking rolling his sleeves up and going, do you know what? I'm going to change something here. I'm going to beat a man. I'm going to get into the fucking box and make something happen, was Marcus Rashford, the youngest, most inexperienced player in that squad. That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. That's what it's left to. You got Premier League winners throughout that side, really. There's several of them. Fucking ridiculous. Absolutely fucking ridiculous. But like I said, I can't get too angry because I generally don't really give a fuck about England. I'm happy that Marcus Rashford's coming home. I'm happy that his reputation has not been damaged the way we've seen some young English Manchester United players happen to in the past. And congratulations to Iceland. Phenomenal achievement for a place that's smaller than Manchester. There's more people in Manchester than there is in Iceland. So probably there's only 30 football pitches in Iceland. What the fuck? I saw a stat, there's 82 on Hackney Marshes, and that's obviously just in one area of one city in London. So 30 football pitches. in Iceland. I'm sure there's more than that in Tameside. Absolutely ridiculous. Hay fever is drilling me worse than Iceland have drilled England tonight. And fucking, what a stupid, useless reaction that is. So, Roy resigned. As I said at the start, strange that he had the note prepared. Who do England turn to next? Wouldn't be surprised if we go foreign again now. There's not really a great deal of English managers kicking about. It is a fucking strange one. Supposedly the FA was in negotiations with Brendan Rodgers prior to him accepting the Celtic job, looking for him to replace Roy. Fuck me, did we get out of the woods with that one. Oh my God, can you imagine the press conferences and all the rest of it if he'd have took over the job? But what's worrying is, 1, England didn't get their man. 2, that was their fucking man. And 3, that's the level of fucking guy that they're looking at. Are you fucking kidding me? Gary Neville's in there at like 10-1, I think. I think Eddie Howe should be in with a decent shout. Undoubtedly, we're going to turn to someone in Europe, I think, though. And I think probably the best idea is to go with a foreign coach this time, just for some fresh ideas, because there's not a great deal of English coaches out there, and the ones that are, arguably, are unqualified. Would Ranieri be a shout? I think Ranieri would be a shout. Especially, well, mind you, Vardy looking at stay. If they manage to keep all of Kante and Mahrez, then he might think he's got a shout at building something, but I reckon you're probably best off just leaving on a high from what's happened there at Leicester this season, because they're not replicating it and anything's down there from now. Although I do think he could probably take them down and they won't sack him after what he achieved this season, which is fair enough, isn't it? There's something else I wanted to say, but I can't fucking remember what it was now. Yeah, it'd be the big blame game. The papers will be interesting tomorrow as everybody tries to digest it, and I'm sure everyone's going to say there's far too many non-English players in the Premier League. That's why we're just not good enough. Well, that doesn't stack up when you look at the numbers coming out of Iceland. One of the problems that we've got in the Premier League or with English football is that they don't travel. And guess what? They're not going to be fucking travelling now to Europe with the EU restrictions that are going to be placed on English footballers heading abroad. Oh, hay fever, fucking do me head in. Oh, faces are covered in snot. But I don't think that's the case. I really don't think that's the case. In the 70s and 80s, English football was dominating the European Cup with Leicester, not Leicester, it was Nottingham Forest, Liverpool, Aston Villa, etc. dominating European football prior to Howson. And that was with predominantly British sides, Irish players, Scottish players, and English players. That was it. That literally was it. A few Welsh players sprinkled in there as well. So the domestic league was hammered with... Oh my God, I'm going to have to stop this in a sec because the hay fever was just killing me. The domestic league was full of English players, but we never did fuck all in international tournaments in the 70s or 80s. We was well poor. Considering some of the sides that we had as well, the 78 England side was phenomenal. Did fuck all. The introduction of the Premier League, Gordon Taylor said that he thought opening the floodgates to foreigners was going to be bad for the English game. The first World Cup that we could have qualified for around about the time, I think qualifying was probably over by the time the Premier League kicked in almost. Did World Cup 94, we didn't qualify. With a domestic league, the last of the first divisions, completely fucking stacked with English players. Just shit English players. Did fuck all. And then when we didn't qualify in 2008, I think it was, everyone was on the blame the foreigners game. It doesn't matter. If you don't have David De Gea in net, does that mean that another young English keeper's going to be of that level? No, it doesn't, does it? Does that mean that some kid from the Championship is now just suddenly good enough for the Premier League because there's a spot open for him? No. The cream will rise to the top. You've seen with Marcus Rashford, if you're good enough and you take your chances, the rewards are there. More clubs, I do think, need to be taking chances and looking into their academy to see what they've got. But I don't agree with the fact that foreigners are killing the game. I think they're making it more competitive, and the players that rise to the top are better players for it. When you had a Premier League full of fucking Warren Barton and Chris Bart-Williams and that, they was players that never got anywhere near it. The likes of Steve Bruce and Lee Sharp and players like that you think they never really did it for England or never really got the opportunity for England, but they were solid Premier League players and Premier League winners. That's the sort of England player that you're lacking, where you would have options and you think, do you know what, I'll probably give him a chance. And you see players like that picking up a few caps. Andy Cole never really got given an opportunity for England because we were stacked with forwards at the time. So maybe there's an argument for having a few more English players in the league, but for me, it's a meritocracy. If you're fucking good enough, you get there eventually. It's top and bottom of it. I think that'll do. I'm gonna have to stop because this hay fever is honestly. I just want to like drag my face over some sandpaper. It's really itchy. Thank you for watching. Drop me a like. Stick some shit in the comments. Who's to blame? What do you think of England tonight? Are you arsed? I think most United fans share the same opinion. Do you know what? I like to see England do well. I don't hate them. I don't wish them ill. But I don't really give a fuck at the end of the day when they lose. It doesn't ruin my day like it does when United lose. And subscribe if you don't already. Thank you for watching. What's on tomorrow? Don't know. I have to check the schedule. Fucking laters.